Hello and welcome to the AOR PC GT3 Elite League on Project Cars, taking place at the Suzuka lookalike Sakitto in this game, with 35 laps of close and intense racing ahead of us. Now the reason I'm doing a post-stream intro for this particular race is that we had some technical issues, or connection issues actually, during the live stream, which meant that most of the qualifying session as well as the warm-up got missed out. So just quickly before we jump into the race, I'm just going to take you through the most notable positions on the grid that came out of the qualifying. And it was very, very close at the top between two Dutch drivers, Perry Gronstra taking his first pole position in the league with a lap time of 1:38.783, only 12 thousandths of a second ahead of Govan Kini. And then starting third, last week's second place finisher Kanuma, who will line up alongside Papand, a more experienced driver, in fourth. The Swede Freda took 5th spot on the grid ahead of last week's winner of the race, Kaki, who did not quite have the same fortunes this time around. And then Ramibo, E-Klassens, Brownski and Today were the remaining top 10 starters. Notably as well, I guess, that the likes of Andrix UK down in 17th, TonyR all the way down in 19th, and Tipple right at the back of the 25 driver field with no time set. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna shoot you over to the live coverage with myself and Yorkie. Govan Kini right on the back, nearly almost starting to race. Gronstra already on the formation lap. Not quite what you want to do. Let's see then. There is 25 cars on the grid out of the 28 in the league. 3 drivers unfortunately missing the race. Obviously it's not unusual for a league race that a few drivers are missing. That's just what happens. Sometimes people having their personal stuff to deal with occasionally. A couple of the guys on holiday, I believe, outside of whatever country they live in. Here, just look at this beautiful shot of all the cars coming through. Yeah, the Degners, Degner 1, Degner 2, two of the most challenging corners on the track. And then up through this kind of unusual corner in the sense that it's not on the real-life Suzuka circuit. Usually at that point where they turn left up the hill, you would go keep going straight and down to the hairpin, which is not on the Sakitto version of the track. You go then straight up from that left-hander up to Spoon Curve, which is also a very tricky one, kind of a double apex corner, where you go in with a lot of speed and then kind of slow down while you turn around the corner. And then a flat out, long straight down towards the infamous 130R, of course. So, Yorkie, it's about at this point, isn't it, that this should start forming up into 2x2 formation?
Yep. Should see the drivers starting to do that now. And
they're rounding 130R.
They need to slow down a little bit as well. A couple of them. What is Govan Kini doing? He's on the wrong side. There he goes. He's switching over now, and the drivers are starting to line themselves up. And as they come down past this final turn and down towards the big tower on the left-hand side, there's also a marshal post on the right-hand side. Between then and the start-finish line is the acceleration point, and we're just waiting for the leader to put his foot down, and he is going to do that.
Anytime
is he
now.
going to do it?
There we go.
Now, and they're off racing. As we come down towards turn 1, it looks like the Aston Martin is going down the inside of Govan Kini. Papand's currently holding 4th. Govan Kini going around the outside for the moment and holding on to 2nd position. A little bit of contact there, a bit further back in and around 5th position. Looks like most of the guys are trying to manage to weave their way through in and around the first couple of corners, and it looks like we're relatively clean at the moment. A little bit of side-by-side action between a number of drivers there in the background.
Super close in the midfield.
First couple of laps, yeah, going to be very, very chaotic for these first few laps. Hopefully things will start to settle down in just a little bit.
Yeah, it's been mostly clean. There was an incident down at turn 1 with a few cars getting a little push. Hopefully no damage as a result of that for any of the cars. Now that you can see that just a whole massive field, the train of cars coming through the Degners, and no further contact in the lap as far as I've seen. So very, very close start. Pando dropping a little bit off the top 3 as he's gone on the grass there. Oh, and Kanuma's on the grass there as well. He's going to drop further positions. Didn't see quite how that happened, but he's down in 6th position now, halfway around the first lap. So Kanuma having some issues there. They'll come through spoon curves. That will have given the top 2 then a little bit of a break for it, with Papand and Kanuma both having some issues. Let's have a look at the top 2. Govankini still right at the back of the race leader, Perry Gronstra. Round 130R, is he going to avoid running wide? You can get a slow down penalty from the game from running too wide of 130R there. Luckily it looked like no one got that one. And 1 lap completed then out of 35. Round Sakitto, Yoki.
Yep, I've just seen someone out in the back there going through 130R, taking out one of the major NVIDIA signs. Sign went absolutely flying up into the air. But yeah, like you're saying, these 2 drivers are starting to break away at the moment. Papand currently holding 3rd position. A little bit of contact there between Fred and I believe that was Kaki as well, as they came into the 2nd turn. Possibly Fred a little bit later on the brakes than Kaki was. Just make a slight bit of contact with the rear of his car. I believe that Kanuma's actually gone and dropped down into 7th place. He has. There was someone else in the background there as well, spinning off to the side and trying to work out who that was. Not entirely sure. These cameras are struggling to pick people up.
Very hard
flick
to,
between them back and forth. Yeah, the cameras
everything's going on.
Reset. Currently watching Mini Black at the moment in 11th. He's got Andrex just behind him in 12th place as they came into these 2 Dender curves and come towards the bridge where they switch over to the other half of the figure of 8 section. This field is starting to spread out a little bit more than they did in the previous round at Catalunya. The guys obviously a little bit more wary of their tyres. They're probably taking into account for that and probably not quite battling as hard as they were in the previous race. Sandra goes deep there into the entry of the spoon curve, rejoins the track still in 12th position, but is now just been overtaken by TonyR and also Rhaegal as well. May potentially have picked up a slowdown penalty that just cost them the run coming out the spoon curves. He's going to lost 2 positions.
Yep, well that was going on. I was just watching the top 2 still driving very close together here. Perry Gronstra showing great pace in the opening laps here, but Govankini doing really well to keep up with him at this moment in time. And what are you seeing?
I see Manu in 8th position. He's going down the inside of Brownski as they come down towards turn 1. Manu getting a pretty good run coming out the exit of the tunnel. So Kanoma is going up the inside of Ramibu, I believe, in turn 1 as well. Very, very close racing between the 2 of them. Almost making contact, but just about giving each other enough racing room. No contact between the 2 at the moment, and Ramibu's just about managing to hold it around the outside as he slots back into 9th position into turn 3.
Right, so super close racing there, as I'm still having some technical issues there. So I really don't know what's going on, but I will keep working at it and hopefully the stream will sort itself out. A lot of
okay.
I think it's restarted again for some reason, but hopefully it should now be fine.
Hopefully, currently still watching this battle of Ramibu, Kanuma, and also Mini Black is closed right up onto the back of this battle as well. Kanuma's actually trying to go around the outside of Ramibu as we come down towards spoon curves. Kanuma's going to have the inside line this time, but Ramibu's still trying to hold it around the outside, giving Kanuma the room that he needs on the inside, but Kanuma's just not quite able to take the position yet. We've also got a very slow, or now stationary, that was a Mercedes. Who was that? I believe that's Centro. What is going on
look at this
with his car? Where are you looking?
I thought we were going to have a side-by-side through 130R there for a moment, but Kanuma managed to pull his car ahead just in time for that not to happen, because that is would have been very daring indeed. Kanuma back up to 9th position, but not having a great start at all to this race. Let's jump forward. Oh, and a side-by-side between Claessens and Fred there, I believe, for 5th position. And got the field. Karkis moved up 2 positions from where he started up to 4th. Papand has not really dropped off any more of the top 2 compared to what he had done after the first half a lap or so. He's still a couple of seconds behind Govankini, who's still less than a second behind Perry Gronstra in that battle for the lead.
Yeah,
so,
he was a 10th off Gronstra's pace, who's currently leading, and was 2 tenths faster than Govankini, so yeah, not really any movement there.
Yeah, and if you've been seeing the stream online for a bit, guys, I can only apologize again. Really having some very unfortunate technical problems with the connection, which obviously it's horrible timing, because Yeah, it's I'm not known for disconnecting or having connection problems in league races, but I just decided that today was a good day, even though it obviously is not. But of course we are on lap 4 now. If you missed the start of the race, that is of course unfortunate as well. It was a nice and clean start for a few shunts here and there, but no major contact, I believe. A few cars, I believe, though, have since suffered some problems, but a lot of close racing in the midfield, while the leader Perry Gronstra and Govankini pulling out a little bit of gap at the top end of the field, as we're now watching side by side into 130R. This lap it did get it. Oh, and I think Ramivo might have been slightly shoved up. Luckily, he managed to stay with at least 2 tires on the race, actually not get a slowdown penalty. And Mini Black was the man challenging him. He got crossed up a little bit on those sausage grabs around the final bend there. He's going to lose some time because of that. But let's check in on the top 2 once again. Perry Gronstra.
A little bit further back, Andrex and I believe Rhaegar. Rhaegar trying to go around the inside of Andrex, but Andrex holding his ground for the moment. Holding on to that 13th place. We've got that new Mercedes AMG of Silver Arrow just behind Rhaegar in his roof. Currently a battle for, I believe this is round about 11th. Up to Mini Black. Mini Black being fairly slow through the final corner. Has basically formed a rather interesting train behind him. Currently watching Silver Arrow in that rather nice Mercedes AMG at the moment as they come round down towards the 2 Degner curves. TonyR there in the McLaren taking a little bit of grass off the inside there, but keeping 2 wheels within the white lines at the same time. And having to fight the car just a tiny little bit. Silver Arrow looks like he's the guy closest to any of the other cars around him at the moment, trying to find the slipstream of Rhaegar and the roof in front of him, possibly trying to mount a challenge coming into the spoon curves. No, he gets on the brakes a little bit earlier, tries to tuck the car in up at his next best opportunity is probably coming out of this corner down the straight down towards 130. He goes a little bit wide there, tries to get back on the track as soon as possible. And has still got the slipstream. Will the power of the Mercedes be able to triumph over the roof in front of him? It doesn't really look like he's closed any kind of gap at the moment. Is going to follow him through 130 and into the final turn. These 2 corners very, very fast indeed, and this is a pretty important place where you need that aero balance to keep the car planted through those high-speed turns.
Yep, I have to say that Mercedes AMG really does look cool. I'm not driven it myself, but from the outside, and Silver Arrow's made a mistake. Yes. Did I come to the curse in there, saying his car looked cool, and it suddenly was on the grass. But obviously that's one of the DLC cars that you're seeing for the first time ever in this league this season. Mercedes AMG GT3. So let's just go back on the field. You can see Andrex really pressuring TonyR for 12th. I believe a few of the guys who all the stream. My stream was having issues. A few of the guys have been watching TonyR streams, of course, and now you're getting a double view of him while I'm watching him here as well. He's streaming his onboard perspective. So just a heads up, if for some, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if something does happen with my stream again, head over to Tony's stream. Because at least then you'll get some perspective of the race. But for now, though, he's going to have to defend from Andrex, holding on to that 12th position, and he did it quite well. Unless Andrex wants to be daring up the inside of the spoon. No, he doesn't. He backs out of that one. So Andrex, he's really having a decent time in that BMW M3, to be honest. Obviously, the M3s didn't do too well. There were 3 of them in the league last season. Neither of them did particularly well in the standings. But Andrex and Maisie, the 2 M3 drivers this season, both had good opening races last time out, and Andrex still in the points in this race as well. Not quite the best line through 130R, so he's not going to be able to challenge TonyR on this one. Now let's check up through the leaders then. You can see, and they're so close together still. It's been about this gap all race long, to be honest. You can just see though, Govankini, I think he might have closed the gap actually a little bit. It's a matter of a couple of meters, the gap between the top 2 in this race. Perry Gronstra in only his 3rd race in this league, Govankini in his 2nd. So clearly 2 new guys coming in and showing incredible pace so far in their GT3 AOR careers, I guess we can say.
Yeah.
And Yoki, who's your money on in this thrilling battle?
Govankini was the faster out of the 2 on the previous lap by about half a second. That's why you see this gap has decreased to the distance that it's now at. Papan's still holding on to the back of these 2 guys. He's not too far behind. I believe he was a tiny bit slower Yeah, it was again very similar pace to Gronstra, but a little bit slower by half a second to Govankini. And he seems to be pulling away from Kaki as well. He's currently holding a steady 4th position. This guy's using all the curb on the exit there. As Gronstra ran out.
He's going to get some slipstream there.
Yeah, he certainly will on the Z4. I imagine the aero of the Z4 pushing quite a big hole. Govankini getting very, very close to the rear of his car. I believe there may have been a tiny little bit of contact there. Both of them getting very, very crossed up with each other. There's definitely contact between them as they come into the final turn. Govankini spinning out. And who was it? Gronstra, who was in first, came into the wall. This has slowed Papan right down as he came in unsighted into the final turn. Kaki's gone and taken the lead off of all of this. Gronstra's going to have massive damage to the front of his car. Papan just about managing to avoid all the contact. Would have been okay, but he's still in 3rd position. Gronstra running deep there into the 2nd corner. What's happened to Govankini? Where's he dropped down to?
I have no idea. You're going to have to try and figure that out while I get a check on the rest of the order. We got now Frede, having benefited from that, moving up to 4th position as well. Obviously, we saw Kaki taking the lead.
Govan's in 6th. Govan's in 6th.
Oh yeah, there is
spin
right
up
behind
from. Who was that who spun out? It was one of the Z4s. It was Mini Black who just had a moment there. Just lost the rear end of the car and had a little half spin all by himself. He's now dropped down into 14th position.
That is not ideal. Obviously, that was a huge incident, though. It's hard to really call it. Obviously, as you mentioned, it looked like a tiny bit of contact through 130R as they went through that so close to get a nose to tail. But then it looked like once they were coming around the final bend, around the pit wall, that Gronstra was squeezing Govan a little bit. Didn't have the best view of it, but certainly Gronstra didn't leave him much room. Maybe though Govan wasn't really properly alongside, so he's really a tough one to call. But they certainly came together. That's for sure. And Gronstra now down to 3rd position as a result of it. Kaki and Papan, the 2 main benefactors, taking top 2 positions now.
Oh dear, just seen today he's had to give the position to Govankini. Govankini was trying to have a little bit of a look down the inside. Manu, otherwise known as Today, he gave him room there on the inside, but because of it he ran deep and out wide, and that just gave the position to Govankini, who carries on round for the moment. Grun's just still out driving around. I saw Papan overtake him around Spoon Curve along the back section of the circuit. He must have massive damage to the front of his car considering the speed that he made contact with the wall. Yeah,
you would have thought so. That he certainly flew into the wall. It doesn't look too bad visually, to be honest. I can see a lot of scrapes on the left side of his car and a few on the back as well, a few on the front. There's a few scrapes here and there, but he seems to be driving clearly. I think he must be struggling somewhat because obviously Papan passed him on the previous lap and has already pulled out a second.
He's got very, very wide, as is his teammate behind him.
That's not going to help either.
As well, Fred, yeah. And then Govankini in 5th is trying to recover this race somewhat after that move. Like you said, it's very difficult to call. I think from what I could see, it looks like Govankini did manage to get alongside him relatively fairly, and I just don't think that Gronstra quite realised that it was there, as we're almost going 3 wide. Coming into Spoon Curve as Fred moves up the inside of his teammate, but I don't think he's quite got the move stuck. Govankini, Gronstra holding it around the outside for the moment. This is holding Govankini up and also bringing Manu and also Kanuma up onto the back of it as well. We could potentially have a fairly big train hit, I believe.
Gronstra struggling so much for straight line speed, you can just see it.
He is. Massively. And Manu almost went into the back of him as well. Had to get onto the brakes to take avoiding action. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, that's not the best line. Brownski jumping over those sausage curbs. Gronstra is going into the pits. There's another car going into the pits ahead of him, and Brownski's crashed into the pit wall. Something has gone completely wrong for him. Oh, I didn't see how he started, but I just saw him jumping over those massive baguettes on the inside of the final bend. So
Remy Boo's dived into the pits as well. Looks like he's got damage to the front of his car, and obviously Gronstra, who's got even more damage now, has dived into the pits. I wonder if actually Gronstra is going into the pits, but where that second pit entry is completely unsighted, probably Remy Boo and Brownski came through that in close proximity and found Gronstra kind of there on the inside on the brake, slowing down to make the pit entry.
Yep, it's Yeah, what I would like to know is how Brownski ended up on the spaghettis, to be honest.
He's probably just trying to get out of the way, I imagine.
Yeah, maybe.
And Maisie's well back. Way far back. Wonder what happened to him at the start of the race.
There's a few drivers who I'm kind of unsure what happened to. You can see there's only actually 21 drivers left in the race. We had 25, I believe, to start with. So 4 of them have dropped out. I saw Dinja S in the chat before, Kaki's teammate, of course. Oh, and that's a side-by-side into Spoon, and Andrex has been forced wide there. That TonyR is battling with, actually. And luckily...
Looks like it.
Both of them managing to carry on, I think, with no major problems. Obviously, they both would have lost a bit of time from that wheel banging through Spoon. TonyR getting so close to the back of him, but you really, as we've seen already, getting too close through 130R can be lethal. And TonyR doing the wise thing there and actually backing out of that one. Actually, I think he's going to be too far back in the slipstream here to have a move that Andrex didn't have the best run out of 130R there, did Tony. And Kaki's down in 7th, so I wonder if Kaki's pitted, actually. Or has he had a problem?
I think he's had a problem. He's got a little bit of damage to the front of his car. What has happened to Kaki? What is going on in this race?
I have no idea what's going on in this race.
All over the place.
There's been so many mistakes and incidents happening in these first 10 laps that is impossible to keep up, to be honest. Claessen's all over Kaki now, yeah. Kaki, though, he must have made a mistake by himself,
He's got
I
damage.
reckon.
He's got damage to the front of this car for me.
Because after he went into the lead, when Gronstra and Govan had their incident, he had several seconds worth of a gap, so he must have made some kind of mistake by himself for that to close down.
Oh. I was going to say, Andrex has run out wide there and looking a little bit bouncy, but he's managed to hold on to it and hasn't really lost any time. Sorry, Fizzy, carry on.
Yeah, so the man in the lead right now is Papand. And I don't know, has he won a race before?
Yes, he has. He won Watkins Glen in Season 3, which is where I finished. I remember because I finished 2nd. And it was by far my best result that I've ever had in AOR. It was an absolutely fantastic race where I managed to take 2nd position on the final lap in the final sector. I believe you were streaming that one, Fizzy.
That might have been the test stream I did, actually. Was that in the night?
Yes, it was.
Night conditions, yeah. Yeah, I do remember that kind of partly anyway. We now have Govankini up in 2nd place. Fred on the podium. Today in 4th. The camera is not doing me too many favours here, but as they come into turn 1, it will. So today, on the back of Fred, those two have really benefited from the other guys making mistakes. We're going to have to hear... I feel like, even though we interviewed Kaki last week, I feel like we might have to pull him in again just to figure out what happened to him from the leads to drop down to 6th all of a sudden and get that damage.
Yes. He hasn't pitted, has he? No, he hasn't. He's still out. He's been passed by Andrex as well. He's now down in 7th position. So I seriously think that Kaki's got a fair amount of damage to the front of his car because he's slower, he's losing time. His previous lap was 2 seconds off.
Look how much time he's losing to Andrex just through that.
Yeah, to Andrex. Yeah, he's 2 seconds off to Andrex, and Govankini, who did a 140.9, he is 3.7 seconds slower than Govankini, who was the fastest man on that previous lap. But yeah, massive damage.
Massive damage, yeah. And we could just say this for Gronstra, of course. Let's have a check-in on him. He was leading the race, of course. Before that incident with Govankini. 17th position is where he's come out after pitting. And even though the car doesn't look fully repaired, I think it will be, performance-wise for him after going through the pit lane.
Yep.
So he will just be... Fortunately for him, though, it's going to have to be another recovery drive, unfortunately. I mean, hopefully, you can only hope that he will be able to get his tyres to the end of the race. That'll be tough, though, given we're on ×2 tyre wear.
Yeah.
Try it still.
Partly depends what compound they've gone on. If he's gone on a hard, he might be able to do it. He's got 22 laps remaining, but he's actually going to trying to go around the outside of Remy, but it looks like he's just about managing to pull that off. Very nice traction there coming out of the left-hander going up the hill. It's quite a tricky one to navigate because it's kind of medium speed. You can break the traction a little bit, and then the hill just like multiplies that, and he's again got a very good run coming out of Spoon Curve and has taken the place off of Maisie for the moment. But Maisie and Ramu are now going to pick up the slipstream of Gronstra as they come down towards 130R. Looks like they were going to go side by side initially, but they kind of settled to down and slotted in behind each other. Seen that in the background, 2 cars go
Yeah!
side by side as well.
Let's figure out who that was.
I believe that might have been Manu and... Yep, Manu and Fred, and also Kanuma as well. For the moment, it looks like Manu is still remaining behind Fred. I believe Fred was ahead of him when we saw them earlier. Fred seems to be all over the place. Is Fred playing with a controller?
I believe he's, you know.
Yes, I think there is.
He did
one
say
or two
that
people.
in the driver introductions we did on the forum earlier. He did say he's one of the 2 drivers in the league playing with a controller. The other one being Itayaki, who I do not know if he's here, but yeah, Fred, extremely impressive to be fighting with these guys so high up the field on a controller.
Yeah, come blasting through 130 up. At the moment, all of them holding ground and holding the station for the moment, obviously trying to pick up the slipstream. Manu holding a much neater and tighter line through the final turn. That should give him a pretty good run down towards the first turn on Fred. We've got a car coming out the pits there as well, as Manu is going to try and slip himself up the inside into 3rd place. A little bit of contact there between the 2 drivers. Did shunt Manu forward, but he did manage to get it slowed down. He's going to hold on to the 3rd position for the moment. Fred dropping down into 4th. Very good move there by Manu to slot himself up onto the podium, starting from outside the top 7. I believe he was in either 8th or 9th he qualified in, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so extremely impressive for him so far. Fred, though, still impressive for him in only the 2nd race, and you can see Kanuma's really dropped off these guys.
Yeah, I think he had a slight moment with one of the guys who's coming out of the pits. It's one of the roofs. I believe they came fairly close to each other coming into the first turn whilst we were focusing on Manu and Fred.
So that's the roof you can see ahead of Andrex now. Will be a lap down, or at least a lap down at this point in the race. So let's have a look at Kaki. He's dropped another position to Tony now. I believe Tony qualified quite far down the field, didn't he?
He was
or
out
so.
the top 10.
Pretty sure he was almost down towards the
He's past Kaki.
bottom of the top 20. So he's had an incredibly impressive race as well. TonyR to move up to 7th place now in the race. Just passing Kaki, as I mentioned, who is still struggling with that damage. Kaki probably just waiting now for the earliest opportunity to get in that pit lane, you know, and still be able to go to the end of on the fresh tires. And then behind them is Rhaegar, teammate of Papand, the current race leader. Lovely livery on that rough, I have to say.
Very colourful.
Further down the field. Gronstra having made nice work and already pulled such a huge gap on Ramibu Maisie. Was it Maisie the other guy passed? Certainly.
Yes.
Yeah. He's already pulled several seconds on them since making that move. Nostra, Jellyfish, Dangerous and Janetta, the 3 cars next up the road. For him, he still got some room to catch those, so there was several seconds up the road. Flassen's hanging on to the top 10 at the moment. Gronstra's teammate, or one or 2 teammates he's got. And Rhaegar trying to keep up with the back of Kaki and TonyR. And Kaki's actually not dropped far off Tony after being passed despite that damage. He's managed to cling on nicely. 2 McLaren drivers very close together now, going through the Degnus. That's a tricky section of the track, especially with those curbs, which kind of lift your cars up a little bit as they go hard on them. And yeah, Kaki actually trying to pressure TonyR back here.
Yeah, wondering what their state of the tyres currently are at the moment. I was just having a look down, further down the field to see where people were. Brownski's dropped way back down as TonyR goes deep there into Spoon Curve. He's going to have Kaki coming up the inside of him into the second part, but TonyR looks like he's just about maybe holding on to the back of it. We might have what's for you.
Might have something fancy going on for the lead in a second, because Gavankini is right at the back of Papan, giving him a little look in the mirrors going into turn 1. He's really close to the gap. I believe it was like 5 seconds or so at the point where after Kini had the accident with Gronstra, he's closed that gap to Papand, and now Papand has the hard work in front of him.
1.5 seconds on the previous lap.
Wow.
Is the amount of time that Govankini took out of Papand. Seems like quite a few of the drivers are kind of on the similar pace in around the mid 143s at the moment, a couple of 144s 142 for Andrex, but Govankini still in the 141.9s at the moment, so high 141s, but still, yeah, a lot quicker than Papand.
Indeed. So let's see if he can make the move and whether he can make it cleanly this time. Obviously, still need to kind of get a better view of what happened with him and Gronstra to see who was really at fault and what could be done differently to avoid it from both drivers. But now he's got Papand as his task, and Papand running slightly wider spoon there, but that allows him to cut in nicely for the exit though, to get a best possible run up through towards 130R, the longest flat-out section on the track. Just going to give Keeney a nice bit of slipstream, but I don't know actually, how is the roof compared to the Z4 in terms of straight line speed?
It should be higher with the roof, but obviously the Z4 have slightly better aero efficiency, so it'll probably be a little bit quicker through the corners, and if he can pick up the slipstream and get close enough, he can sit in that air and carry on accelerating up at a similar sort of rate, which is exactly what he's doing now as they come down towards turn 1. Papand moving to the inside to defend it, forcing Govankini to try and go around the outside. Papand squeezing him out wide there. Govankini having to back out of the move. I believe there may have been just a very small tap between the two drivers as Papand was trying to hold on to the lead for the moment, but positions remain as they are. But yeah, the top speed of the roof should be a little bit better than the Z4. Same with the acceleration.
Yeah, because Z4 are known to be one of the well, certainly the straight line speed is not one of the strengths. The corner handling, certainly like high speed corner bonus, and also tyre wear seem to be two of the strengths, however. So Govan might be a little bit better in terms of tyre wear than Papand on this stage of the race. We saw, of course, at the end of the previous race, these guys were battling as well. That was a battle for third place in Catalonia between these two, when Papand managed to jump a few cars in the pit stops, but then Govankini managed to catch him back up at the end of the race, a few laps to go, with what you would assume is a slightly better wear on his tires as well, and make that move stick. So, knowing Papand, he's not going to give up this fight whatsoever. He's going to try and make it as difficult as humanly possible for Govankini to get this position. I mean, he certainly didn't make it easy for him either last race, but he didn't have much choice, it felt like, at that point, because he just you could just see when he was. Oh my word! Govan smashed in the pit wall. Okay, so let's stop talking about that battle and talk about the damage sustained to that BMW of Govankini. That will be, I don't know if he lost the wheel there, but that's going to be...
Yeah, he's lost the front left wheel. He's managed to get the car going though and actually into the pits, so he will get a new wheel put on, but man, that was massive.
I mean, at least if you're going to crash like that, then do it at the pit lane entry, because then you're going to have to not do much racing with a broken car. But as you can see, it's stationary very long in the pit lane actually. Obviously tyre changes going on. So a few other cars coming in as well. We got Dane in the pit box ahead of him, Kanuma as well.
Yep.
Gronstra, who has pitted already, remember, he's on the pit straight, he's jumped up to 4th position. So a lot of cars at this point of the race will have pitted. Let's see what our top 3 is now. Rhaegar is up to 3rd.
Andrex in 2nd, very nice.
Yeah, those two has not pitted, of course.
Yeah, Papand quite a way off, obviously, still. He has yet to pit. I imagine he'll probably pit this lap, but I doubt he'll be feeling much of a threat from Govankini anymore. That was quite surprising to see. I mean, I guess, yeah, you want to attack the pit lane as much as possible to try and obviously carry as much speed and lose as little time as possible. Yeah, but well, yeah, it just seemed like he overcooked it a little bit. I wonder if he actually got caught up on the curves on the inside, and that kind of bounced him out wide, or yeah, bounced him into the entrance.
It looks like he just drove into the pit wall. Of course, I mean, from the cockpit view of his, it really seemed different. As actually Ramibo has had a mare at the exit of the second Dana there.
Yeah, he swapped positions with Manu. I believe that may have been an actual tactical swap as well. Obviously, Manu's only just come out of the pits. Manu not wanting to lose too much time. Tactical swap there between the two teammates.
Yeah. So Ramibo, though, he dropped maybe, if it was a tactical swap, he dropped certainly a little bit too much more time than maybe what he would have intended to do. So now he's got Kanuma all over him. You can also see at the front of Rambo's car, he's got a bit of damage there. I do not know, has Rambo pitted at this point?
Yes, he has. He pitted on the same lap as Gronstra did.
I think, as well for him, performance-wise, the car should be fine. It's just damage visually hanging over from previously in the race. And then we'll be looking to pile up a little pressure on him.
Rhaegar's in the pits. I believe Papan Andrex has pitted as well. He's now coming out just behind Kanuma, so that's worked out quite nicely for him, slotting back into 7th position with a couple of cars just in front. One of them is quite clearly battling for position with, and then Ramibu, who I'm starting to worry he may be on a different strategy now, considering he pitted earlier. I don't think his tyres are going to be able to last the whole distance.
I can't remember if he was forced a bit earlier, but I would assume so, considering the visual damage he's got, that he might have been involved in an incident and has pitted early because of that. So yeah, tyre wear is going to be hard for the guys to pit early, of course. Gronstra, another man in that same situation, who is now up in the lead, even. Okay, that happened.
Wow, he's just in front of.
Not sure how that happened, to be honest, because Papan had a huge gap, didn't he?
He was,
but
Gronstra did pit not too far to Papan. Obviously, Papan's been battling with tyre wear and also with Govankini. So Gronstra, obviously on a fresher set of tyres, would have been banging in some really quick laps, which we did see as well. I wasn't actually looking at his actual tyres, but we saw him get past Maisie and Ramibu fairly quickly and build out a pretty quick lead. So I imagine his lap times were very, very good, but obviously with the tyre life difference now, Papan's surely going to have the upper edge.
Yep. So Papan, he's been in the pits, right?
Yes, he has. He has pitted.
So he will have fresher tyres at this point, as you said. And yeah, of course, the big challenge for Gronstra, he's not going to only have the chance of Papan behind him, he's also going to have the challenge of the tyres and try to see if he can stretch him to the end or if he has to pit another time in this race. That's going to be two things that he'll have to that will have to be in the forefront of his mind for the remainder of this race. We are over halfway, 15 laps in the session remaining. So let's actually, I'm curious to know where's Govankini ended up. So he's down in 9th at the moment. After that, humongous smash in the pit wall. And he has got Rhaegar at the back of him. Okay, so Rhaegar is to rejoin in 10th after pitting.
Yep. I believe Govankini may have passed Rhaegar on track. It was a lap or two ago that Rhaegar pitted, and Govankini, it doesn't show anything for his previous lap time. So, yeah, I can't tell you how much quicker he was, or whether he passed on track, or whether it was from the pits. But they are pretty close at the moment. TonyR in 8th.
Update on Kaki. He's down in 17th position.
Oh dear.
17th position. He's had some massive problems as well that we haven't really seen. We just know he's had them. So hopefully he'll be up for an interview after the race, even though, unlike last week...
Dangerous Janetta and Maisie. They're pretty close together. They were almost overtaking each other, I believe. Dangerous Janetta may have just passed Maisie? Maisie's been out on tyres for quite a while, at the same time as Ramibu and Gronstra, so I think Dangerous Janetta, considering he was up around 11th position last time I saw him, he must have pitted. And
yeah, I think everyone has pitted at least once at this point.
Yes.
They're actually going to go side by side. Maisie trying to fight back here against Dangerous Janetta, who is unsurprisingly in the Janetta, the only man in the league in that car. Maisie, one or two guys in the M3, and will they be able to go through there side by side? Oh, Janetta might get a cut track penalty there. No, it doesn't look like, actually. I know that is very sensitive. It certainly wasn't Season 2 when we were here last. Yeah, so he's still going. That's good. So that battle rages on. Dangerous Janetta dropping down behind Maisie again, but still in the points. Top 16 score championship points in this league. The higher up you are, the more points you score, which is logic, I suppose.
Yep. Who else can we find?
Front again. Still close at the front, but Papan hasn't really been able to mount a challenge yet.
He is closing though, and he'll probably close up a fair bit more coming through the final turn, considering the pace of the roof will be better than the Z4, but the Z4 taking a much wider, more sweeping line into the final corner compared to Papan and his roof. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to mount a challenge into the first turn. However, I can just about see the next car in the background of Fred as he now comes over the start-finish line with Manu not too far behind him, and then Kanuma again. Pretty equal distance between these three cars at the moment.
Yep. We're just seeing all the top 7 flying through the first couple of corners here. Yeah, as I mentioned, Freda has 2 cars for close company, but he's up in that podium position once again. So, on that pad as well. The controller shows that it is possible. It's of course we're very wheel dominated in this league. I believe 26 out of our 28 drivers are on the wheel. We have 2 on the pad. Only 1 in this race are using the pad. And Fred is showing that it's possible to do well on that as well.
Freda pitted a lap or 2 earlier than today, didn't he? I believe.
Yes, I believe so.
I think so, yeah. So the undercut working quite nicely for him, because I'm pretty sure Manu did overtake him on track in quite a nice move down the inside into turn 1, it was. So, yeah, Manu's got that work to do again, but obviously with Freda pitting a lap or 2 earlier, his tyres will go off a lap or 2 earlier than Manu's will, unless Manu absolutely kills the tyres somehow. At the moment, Manu's looking like he's got the slightly more stable car out of the 2, but then again, obviously Fred is on the pad, which will hurt him a little bit as well in these 2 times tyre wear conditions. Obviously, without the...
It should be smooth, isn't it?
Yeah, without the refinement of the wheel, like I say, it can be more difficult to be smoother and make those very small, minute adjustments. Just put a little bit of steering lock into the wheel, and that could potentially scrub the tyre a little bit more. And yeah, Manu having a slight look there into the inside. Trying to have a little bit of a look. But at the moment, not really able to find any way past. It's quite difficult to overtake through the first sector unless someone makes a major mistake. And basically gives you a really good run. But it's more from here onwards.
I think we have lost a man who's been pretty in the wars in this race. Govankini has disconnected.
Oh dear.
Or quit, we don't really know. But he's certainly out of the session. So whether another incident's happened for him or if it's connection related on that one, I do not know. But as Grunster lets Papan through for the lead.
Oh really?
Looked like he backed up for him there before 130R and actually let him go through.
Possibly thinking Grun's just trying to play the long game with the tyres. Maybe he's slowing down, he's going into the pits.
Yep.
Yeah. This time a much safer pit entry. Seen quite a few people there spin into the final turn, but that's probably why Grun's tyres are probably just gone and he can't really do much about it. And actually picking up the battles. Fred moves up into 2nd place, and now Manu's going to try and have a go down the inside once again, coming into the first turn. Who's going to be the latest of the late breakers? The 2 drivers coming very, very close together. The gap is still there on the inside, but it looks like Fred's going to hold it for the moment. I think there may have been a slight tap from Manu, and Manu, being a rather good gentleman driver, just slotting in behind for the moment, and he wants to try and make the move as clean as possible. But this has brought Kanuma right up onto the back of Manu's Z4. There's a 3-way fight for 2nd place, Fizzy.
It really is. This is obviously turning from 3rd place fight to the 2nd place fight with Grunster going into the pit lane. Quickly check where he's ended up. Actually, he's down in 11th place right now behind his teammate Claessens. He's going to have to have another compact drive, unfortunately, in those final 11 laps. He's going to try to use the fresher tyres though, and his pace to his advantage to gain as many points back as he possibly can. And while that is going on, we are watching the battle for 2nd place. I think Papand... today's gone really wide at Spoon. way off the track there, and Kanuma's got through up to third.
He's got a track extended penalty.
Oh, that is frustrating, obviously, when you just make a mistake like that. Go a bit wide. You're not really getting any time, but in certain corners you can get a cat track still. And it's going to drop several seconds from the two cars you were with before. You can just see the gap there. And he's now actually going to be as close almost to 5th place Andrex. As he's to the top, well, 2nd and 3rd now.
Yes. Very good drive by Andrex, coming from quite far back in the field once again. He's never been good at qualifying. He admits that. It's not me just taking the mick out of him. He does know that his qualifying pace isn't brilliant, but he certainly makes up for it in race pace. He has a pretty good strategic head on his shoulders, and is able to work his way through the field and pick his moments to overtake. Pretty good, I'd certainly say, and it's clearly being shown here in this race, moving himself up into 5th position. It's good to see, and these two battling for 2nd place still, Kanuma and Fred. I believe it looks like it's starting to allow Manu to close up onto the back of these two drivers. I know he'll certainly be trying to push hard after feeling the frustration of the cut track penalty that he got on the previous lap. Coming midway point through Spoon. I'm just going to take a quick look to see where Papand is.
Fastest laps there actually, and Kanuma has the fastest lap in the whole race at the moment.
Does he?
He really does. 39.4. Race leader Papand's got a 39.9 for comparison. Gronstra, who was leading the race, and also to pole, he's on a 39.7 in the race. That's his best. So Kanuma on race pace there, despite having some troublesome first few laps. He's really pulled himself together and found the rhythm now. And I would say, even though he's behind Fred Air, he might just be the favourite for that 2nd place.
Yeah, it certainly looks like he's got the slightly quicker car out of the two. And obviously the Aston Martin will be faster down the straights, V12 power compared to the V8 of the Z4, but the Aston does suffer from quite severe mid-corner understeer in high and medium speed corners, so needs to be wary of that. He probably obviously tried to dial as much of that out in the setup as possible, but it will still hurt him. It's a very well-known trait of the Aston Martin, as he does get very, very close to the back of Fred, and once again coming through the right-hander and now into the very long left, which does open up as they go over the crest just here. Hang on the power now, starting to unwind the wheel, and you're down towards the 2 Degner curves.
You are, and of course, we all know this. Kanuma might have the pace, but there's one thing catching the car, and there's another thing entirely to actually pass it on the track. So he's going to have to, as long as Fred doesn't really make a mistake, it's going to be down to Kanuma to try to play with him a little bit, trying to show himself in the mirrors, or just dive off the inside of Spoon, if you don't mind. Is he going to make a stick? Fred holding on very nicely. Can he keep it on track? I think he just about did, you know. Yep. Beautiful defensive line from Fred Air, just using absolutely all of the track on the outside to get as much momentum as possible to defend the position there. That was a pitch perfect line from him, but Kanuma now in that Aston Martin's gonna get a huge slipstream through 130R. He might be side by side. They are! Oh! Kanuma just backing out of it, and again Fred leaving a little bit of the room on the inside while using the whole track width and carrying at the maximum possible speed around the corner. Fred really doing an impressive job to hang on right now, because it really does look like Kanuma's got a pace, but so far he still can't find a way through.
Yeah, this is going to be a battle of tyres as well. Eight laps remaining. These guys aren't going to pit before the end of the race. I'm sure Papan has probably dialed himself back a little bit in these stages of the race just to look after the tyres. Obviously these two battling is going to eat into the tyre life. Also Manny behind him obviously wanting to close up as quickly as possible. That will eat into his tyre life. He'll be able to see this battle rage on, and certainly looks like Kanuma is the faster out of the two drivers. Kanuma also pitted on the same lap as Manu did, so he'll have a set of tyres that are slightly fresher than Fred's at the moment, only by a lap or two, but obviously trying to battle his way past, and also sitting in the slipstream and in dirty air through the corners. That'll work the tyres a little bit harder and scrub a little bit more life away from them, so he needs to be careful, he needs to be wary of that, he needs to pick his moments and make sure that any moves that he does try and make is actually going to 100% stick, so he can get up into second place and start to pull away before Manu gets the opportunity to close onto the back of these two and potentially line himself up with that second place that, well, these 4 drivers are probably going to be wanting to fight for on these last few laps. As once again Kanuma's going down the inside, coming into 130R. Is he going to be able to make the move stick this time? Yes, it does look like he's just about to be able to do.
What a move.
Very, very nice. Yeah, Fred trying to come back at him though with a slight switch back, and then once again coming into the final turn. These two guys go side by side for a very, very fast corner. Both of them just about giving each other enough racing room. Really, really good fair fighting between these two drivers. Kanuma managing to slot himself up into second place. Very nicely done.
Fred again very close to the back of him there on the exit of turn 2. Kanuma had to take 2 goes of 130R, but the second time he managed to get far enough alongside on the inside for Fred not to be able to hold it round. And this time he made it stick. It's certainly a very daring corner to make such an overtake, but Kanuma made it stick. Both cars remaining on the track, and that is very impressive for him. Remains to be seen though. I think Papand has about a 10, 11, 12 second worth of a gap down to Kanuma now. So even though Kanuma has been looking good in terms of race pace based on his fastest lap of the race, it's in just 7 laps it might be a tough call for him to catch Papand, but you never know. He's certainly going to go for it. You can see he's already pulled a few car lengths out on Fred after the half a lap he's been ahead of him. And so today you can really see him as well, or Manu as you refer him to as, just for the sake of confusion.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Closing that gap to these again because of that battling, of course. And Andrex really not losing any time either behind. He might even be catching a bit as well, you know.
He's holding pretty steady ground, yeah. I am going to very quickly jump back to look and see where the other drivers are. TonyR is holding a very nice
there we go.
6th. Oh yes, was it a Nostra and also Gronstra. Gronstra trying to slide himself up past the Bentley. The very big, ominous bus, holding its ground for the moment, I believe. Nostra has been holding on to that position for a while as they come side by side coming out of the spoon curve, and now it's a pure drag race coming down towards 130R. Surely the Bentley's going to have the legs over the Z4, but the Z4 currently holding the inside at the moment. Very, very close between these two. Will Gronstra be able to take the inside line and hold on to the position and slot himself up into 8th? He does. Nostra slotting in behind him for the moment, but he's going to follow him through the final turn. Sure, he's going to be able to pick up the slipstream and get quite a nice tow down the start-finish straight, but it doesn't look like he's quite going to be close enough to benefit when they come into the braking zone for turn 1.
Gronstra continuing his charge then through the field up to 8th position. He was in 11th after pitting for the second time. He's possibly the only one, and certainly one of the very few drivers in this race to have pitted twice. Obviously not what he would have wanted. It was his early first pit stop was as a result of an incident and having to repair damage that he was suffering from. So he's spent a lot more times in the pits than the other guys he's currently battling with on track, but as a result, though, might just have some fresher tyres in this stage of the race.
Oh, the battle for 3rd position is starting to hot up a little bit. Man, he's getting very, very wide there, coming out the exit of the spoon curve. Doesn't get a penalty this time round, but he has gone and lost some ground. He was very, very close to the back of the Z4 in front of him. Kanuma there, you can see in 2nd position, is starting to pull away off into the distance. Obviously Papand up beyond them, and Andrex lurking in the background as well. I'm sure he's going to probably start to close up in these final 5 laps. It really is going to be a battle of attrition on these tyres and see who can make them last the longest, as Manu just presenting himself into the mirrors of Fred at the moment, trying to fake a little bit of move there, trying to put Fred off, and it kind of looks like he's almost managed to make that work as Fred lost a little bit of time there to Manu, and Manu's closed right up onto the back of him as he come now into the turn 3, but they just absolutely chuck it in. As a rather awkward dip there on the entry as well. That does bounce the car. Drivers managing to hold the cars quite nicely through that.
Quite often see the drivers kind of giving each other looks in the mirrors when trying to put a bit of pressure on, and you know, it doesn't always work. I mean, I feel like it very much depends on the driver in front as to whether that will actually put him off or not, as to how kind of stressed out they are from trying to to stay ahead, and how concentrated they are on just the corners, because you really kind of, when you're trying to defend like this, you need to have a little eye on the car behind, of course, as I'm sure Fred has going into Spoon here, seeing in his mirror once again. But as well, you kind of still, even though you're very much under pressure, you need to kind of keep the main focus still on the track itself and hit those apexes, carry the best speed through the corners, take the right lines and all that, and not let the car behind you put you off too much so that you lose too much time. And in turn, speaking of losing too much time, I think he braked a bit too much there. Did Fred through 130R?
Yeah, he's lost an awful lot of momentum. This is giving Manu the opportunity to slip down the inside, coming into the final turn. So Manu backs out of it for the moment. Thinks better of it. I think just, well, the car being on the outside, they have the slightly earlier opportunity to get back on the accelerator again. Because obviously, when you do, you start to understeer. As well, look like they're getting very close once again through the bacon zone in the first couple of turns. So yeah, Fred would have had a slight advantage there if his car was slightly ahead. Obviously Manu wants to avoid making contact, especially in that high-speed corner. We've seen it earlier on in the race between Gronstra and Govankini. When they came together on the entry to that, it has some rather devastating results.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least. As Andrex is now presenting himself. Never mind. Sorry about that. Commentator curse. Straight in the gravel. So we lost a bit of time from that, but he's still not too far behind. He might still have a chance to mix himself with his drivers as he's gone off again a little bit back there. Andrex needs to remember to focus. Still 4 laps remaining in the race. Quick check back on the leader. Got Papan in the lead, of course. He's now blasting through 130R. He's only going to have to do this, that 3 more times after this to keep the lead of the race. Let's check the gap as he goes through. Let's check the gap back to Kanuma, who is now going through 130R. Yeah, it's about 10 seconds or so between those two. Papan probably just trying to take it easy now and not make any mistakes, and he should have the win covered pretty well. The battle for third, still very, very close. You can just see how much Kanuma's pulled away after passing Freda. So he clearly had a pace of him. But Freda managed to hold him up for quite a while, and it might just be a similar story with today. Who is going to pull to the inside into turn 1? Will he be daring on the brakes? Yes, he will. Oh, so there's a bit of wheel banging there. They're both off the track slightly. Freda taking the advertising board out with him as well, but he's going to stay ahead. Yeah, I think today's back enough to give him the position, feeling that he was at fault for that one, and as a result, Andrex has slipped through past both of them up into the podium position. He will just he can't believe his luck, surely. Andrex, so suddenly he's getting 2 positions through doing nothing really by himself, and he's now in the position to defend that 3rd position instead of chasing it. But I might be a little bit annoyed with today there. Maybe today was a little bit too late on the brakes, didn't quite leave enough room on the outside, but again, kind of looked like a race incident. It's a bit hard to call as well.
Yeah, and Manu did the right thing coming out of that as well, which was backing off and letting Freda rejoin back in front of him. Indeed. Obviously that has cost him dearly as well. That's kind of robbed his chance of the podium position, as Andrex he's a little bit hard on his tyres, but at the same time he looked to be in a pretty good position with his tyre life. He still had some pretty good pace, so with the gap that's between Andrex at the moment in 3rd place and Freda in 4th, what is now 4th position. Who we got?
Gronstra continuing his comeback drive, and next target for him is TonyR, who's also had a very good drive through the field in this race. Actually, he qualified way down, as we mentioned before. He's up in 6th position, trying to hold on. Gronstra will have better tyre life, having pitted twice in this race. I mean, his latest pit stop was done later than TonyR, and thus his tyres will have been sustained less laps since the pit stop. And he's all over the back of him, carrying more speed in that Z4 through 130R as well. As we are going on to the penultimate lap of the race now, I believe. These guys... Oh, don't hit the pit wall! My word, that was super close. I think they just got away with it, both of them, without any contact. Gronstra actually made a move there. For a second I was scared that TonyR was just going to close the door, keep to the apex and force Gronstra in the pit wall, but just about managed to see him come in time, luckily for both of them. Unfortunately though for Tony, he dropped the position. Has Rhaegar some distance
Next
behind
person.
him. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think
so
he might just be fine. He's 7th, but yeah. Another position dropped, and so, well, I'll say another position dropped. He's not really dropped any many positions in the race. He's actually got a lapped car just behind him, which seems to be faster right now. Certainly staying very close. Might put him off a little bit.
A little bit further down. Looks like Bransky's been catching up with Kaki. I've just noticed as well. I saw someone mention it in the chat. It may have been battling earlier on, but at the moment they're running a very, very similar pace. You can see the gap isn't. I was going to say it wasn't too big, but it looks like that Bransky's had a mistake somewhere along the line. It's dropped well back. That is definitely commentator's curse if I've ever seen it.
Yep.
I apologise for that, Bransky, but actually looking back to Manu and also Fred. Manu's managed to slot himself up into 4th position now. He's got himself ahead of the Z4 of Fred off camera. Just jumped to that real quick. And unfortunately, we missed that. It looked like he did the move just before 130R. Fred, I'm sure, in these very final laps is probably struggling with the tyres on the pad compared to the wheel drivers that are in and around him. But even still, very, very impressive drive, very, very impressive race by him to be holding on to a top 5 place at the moment, showing fantastic pace in qualifying. He's certainly got the pace in the race. It's just that slight disadvantage that he has on the pad compared to the wheel is costing him here what could have been potentially a very, very good result. May possibly have been 2nd or 3rd place if the previous racing overtakes had any real major play on the actual battles that were going on.
Oh my word! Papan's been hit by a backmarker on the final lap of the race. He's off at Spoon, and here comes Kanuma! Here comes Kanuma to take the lead potentially, unless Papa can nurse this car to the finish line. He's only got one straight and a 130R to go. Can he have enough straight line speed in that roof to get to the finish? I have no idea which backmarker was ahead of him. It was one of the Mercedes AMGs. Can't remember which drivers were in that, but I think Papa might just get on. Let's see, he runs too wide and get a cut track. No, I think he's fine. Papa no, he's not. He's dropped the lead. Kanuma's through. I mean, what?
Major drama. He's slowing down. How big is this cut track penalty? He's gone and lost 2nd place as well. Has now dropped down into 3rd. Papan's going to be absolutely fuming with that. Will he come across the line in 3rd position? Manu's coming up. Well, Papan does just about get 3rd position. He's really not happy with that. I believe he's just gone and left the session or retired. He's retired back to the pits for the moment.
Well, whoever that backmarker was will have some students in reports to look at, I think. Oh, but there's also TonyR trying to fend off Rhaegar. Oh, the camera doesn't help me on the final straight. TonyR just about managed to it. Yeah. With a bit of wheel banging on the final bend. TonyR holds up on to 8th. And then Jellyfish here. Where is he on the track?
He's a bit further around. It seems to mess around a little bit. And his Clarson's now coming over across the line. He's the next car. And Maisie and Ramiboo coming very, very close together. I believe Maisie just about pipped Ramiboo there for 10th position. He came across the line. He did come across the line just in front of Ramiboo.
11th, it says.
His class in Ramiboo is 11th, yep. But Maisie was ahead, so we'll make note of that one. Jellyfish in 13th, that's not right. Neither is Blue Rat. Trying to pick up the next driver who is due to come over the line, but my god, major drama at the end of that round. Wow. And
that a Mercedes AMG would have been either Centro or Silver Arrow. It would have been Silver Arrow actually, because Centro's got some red on his car.
Yes.
And Silver Arrow's been around this league for a long time. I know him as a very clean driver, so clearly I don't know how he's managed to do that, to be perfectly honest with you. That is beyond my understanding as to how he could have managed to hit Papan there. And yeah, as you said, Papan will not at all be happy. We'll see what comes of it. But Kanuma has actually won the race then on his 2nd attempt. Out of nowhere on the final race, he was gifted a race win. And that means he will also be taking over the lead of the championship with a 2nd place and a 1st place after Kaki. didn't have the best of days here. He finished in the points, but only in 14th. He did drop behind Bronsky, actually. Assuming this order is correct now. So, major drama here in the final part of the race. And now we definitely need... I wish we really could have time to interview every driver right now, because we really need it to understand what has happened. But we will pick a few, I guess.
I think we should avoid Papin for now, as...
Yeah, might not be the best...
yeah, I imagine he's not in the best frame of mind for the moment. Should we go Kanuma, Andrex, and let's get Fred, because he had a really good strong race despite losing a couple of positions at the end. So yeah, let's go Kanuma, Andrex, and then Fred.
Hello, Kanuma.
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay, so 3 minutes ago you were in second place. Not really surely expecting to get the win today, but suddenly you won. So how do you feel?
What a crazy race, to be honest. I lost my rear end in the first lap because I didn't calculate the slipstream, and then I fell back to P10 or so. Had a quite damaged car. I had to drive the whole stint. I was trying to push, got overtake, had one penalty, but I totally did not expect to win this race today.
Yeah.
I was lucky because Govand probably DC'd, and I wasn't sure what about Gronstra. But holy man.
They had it coming together coming into the final turn. They made contact with each other, and yeah, both spun off into the wall and got quite bad damage. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. But what were your thoughts in the last half of that final lap? Because obviously you're in second place, and then all of a sudden you've got...
I was like, don't spun, because Andrex was behind me, and in the pace before he was very fast in his M3. And was just trying to push and don't spin because I didn't want to end up in third place, but luckily Papin lost his fuel and I got on the second place.
You ran out of fuel, that would explain it then.
I was so lucky.
So that, I guess, would explain why... I mean, because obviously he did get hit by a backmarker, and that's why it sent him...
Maybe lifting and coasting, possibly.
So he must have maybe just slowed down a lot more than Silver Arrow was expecting there, which is probably what caused it then. So I'm not gonna blame Silver Arrow on that one if that was the case, of course. So yeah, actually a miscalculation on Papin's part. That's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely, but still an amazing race, crazy as hell. Didn't expect that win today.
Well, you got your wish that you asked for after last week. You wanted more battles, and it certainly seems like you got it this time round.
Yeah, but next time I want to win against Kaki.
Yeah.
Because I want to fight him. Still amazing race.
Yeah. Well done on the win anyway. In a very unusual fashion. And
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you up there again in future races.
I hope so.
Alright.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, that cleared up a few things.
Yeah. It must... I feel really, really bad for Papin.
Yeah.
That is the case. One slight miscalculation and it's cost him a win. Really, that was...
Really did, yeah. I mean, I
was
his. When he did put the fuel in the car, he probably didn't expect to win the race, but obviously he got into that position through having a very strong, consistent race. He was one of the few guys that really didn't get caught up in any problems, and yeah, it's heartbreaking for him, unfortunately. So, who do you want to get in?
Andrex.
Good morning or evening, Andrex.
Good morning, evening, or whatever.
Yeah.
Hello.
What just happened there?
We were hoping you would tell us, to be honest.
I don't know, really. The tyres just seem to work. Last night's social, I got considerably more tyre wear, but it just seemed to work. In the first stint, they were doing all right, and I was catching people at the end of the first stint, and I thought, oh, okay, that might work. Caught up with today, I was behind him, he pitted. I did an extra lap. I don't know if I lost quite a bit of time in the pits or not, but it seemed to be quite a long wait behind him when I came out of my pit stop. And yeah, just piling the laps, and they were decent paced laps to be fair, and didn't seem to drop off very much. And I started catching people at the second half of the second stint again, and I thought, okay, see what we can get out of this, and catch up on people.
In the end.
I certainly did. I was catching today again, and the gap was coming down quite nicely, and I thought it was going to be close for the last lap. I needed him to battle Fred, and they did, and then they managed to kind of contact and get stuck together. And I'll be honest, I actually considered slowing down and letting them carry on and sticking behind them, but then I thought, no, I'll go for it. A momentary kind of moment of letting them have it back out of kindness, and then I changed my mind. But then I was catching P2, but there was nowhere near enough time. There's one lap to go. Then Papand decided to run out of fuel, which was very generous of him. So yeah, but I have to take my hat off to Fred. He's driving with a pad in 2 times tyre wear.
Yeah.
I'm just absolutely mind blown by his pace and performance and ability to go that well, because it's mighty impressive.
Yeah,
it was.
So hoping to hear from him next, actually.
Very strong. Can I ask you one thing, Andrex?
Certainly can.
Can you please work on your qualifying pace, mate? You started in P17 today.
Well,
you got P2.
Have a challenge, don't you?
That's an absolutely massive feat. Yeah, gaining all those positions, but. Think about what could have happened if you were a bit further up, starting in the starting order.
I've never been good at qualifying. I think you pretty much out-qualified me every race when we were teammates in Season 3.
Not everyone.
It wasn't far away, but I've never been strong at qualifying. I don't put a lot of time into it. I would rather spend the time getting the car set up for the race. Have a better race car for 35 laps than a car for 2 laps.
Yeah, it's reasonable, certainly.
It seemed to work today.
Yeah.
So Andrex, well done on your second place.
Congratulations, mate. Very well deserved.
Thank you.
Let's hope you get some more good results later in the season as well.
I don't know that I'll be matching that one. I have to take the result when I can, but yeah, we'll take it.
All right. Well, see you next week then.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred next.
Yeah, Fred, the last one.
Swede. The Scandinavian, whom I'll be speaking with for the first time. Hopefully he'll be ready for this one. Well, brother.
Yeah?
Hello. How are you feeling after that race? It's certainly, I think everyone said that it was a very impressive performance from you, considering especially that you're on the controller.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I did have problems with tyre wear because of my controller. I keep oversteering just a tiny bit, and then tires are gone.
Yeah, but you certainly had a lot of battles high up in the field. I thought it was very impressive how long you kept Kanuma behind you for in that battle for third, I believe, at some stage.
Yeah.
He seemed to have the pace, but you just picked perfect defensive lines and managed to stay ahead of him.
Yeah, it's hard to pass on this track. But once he did, I mean, he was too fast on the straights. He was just gone.
Yeah.
And then I had some unfortunate contact with today, but, I mean, it happens.
Yeah, it did let you back through at least, so that was good to see.
Yeah. Good news for Andrex.
Yeah, of course.
Very good, interesting result for him. How much pressure were you feeling in that last second half of the stint? Obviously, you had today Manu breathing down your neck for quite a long period of time. On that, obviously, I was
definitely sweating.
Yeah,
the tire was gone on lap maybe 30, and then I was just getting around him. And today I could tell he had a lot more tires left, and also Kanuma. So it was inevitable, I think. I probably would have ended up in P3, 4 if I didn't.
Yeah. Even still, very good, strong, impressive result getting P5. So congratulations on that. Really good. And also qualifying as well. You were qualified quite high up in 4th position. No, sorry, 5th position.
P5, I think.
P5, yeah. So you started in P5, you finished in P5. Solid result, mate. Congratulations.
I'm happy. Thank you.
Good.
Not bad for your second race. Well done, and see you next week.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was 3 interviews. That's kind of the limit I wanted to set, but I mean, there's so many interesting stories amongst those drivers from that race, I think. So
I think we'll have to get full reports from all the drivers, and then first thing in the next race, which will be at Monaco as well, round 3 next week at Monaco.
That should be interesting.
We can talk about it and give you all the update then.
As you mentioned, Yoki, next week it's a very, very interesting one because for the first time ever, we are at Monaco in the GT3 leagues, and
it's going to be very, very tight.
Can we say any more to hype this up? Monaco in the night with 25-ish GT3 cars. It's gonna be absolutely insane with the walls super close. So challenging for these drivers. It's gonna be 39 laps in the night to get through. Obviously, luckily there's some lights around the track, because otherwise it would have been even more atrocious. But yeah, the drivers will have something to challenge themselves with next week, that's for sure. We really hope you will tune in for that one next week at the same time, 8 PM UK time on Wednesday at Twitch TV on Project Cars. We will see you then, and goodbye.
Goodbye.